627 downtown. It's a chilly morning. 21 degrees in Billings, single digits around the area. So bundle up today as we look at First News. It's fair, it's accurate. You get the damn truth. The U.S. and now some other Western embassies in Kiev are closed. Security reasons. The American delegation said they received a warning of potentially significant attacks now coming from Russia at the Ukrainian capital. The step came after Russian officials promised a response. Joe Biden's decision. After 1,000 days of war and only 60 days left to be president, decided to let the Ukraine start using longer-ranged missiles to hit targets now within Russian soil. That move angered the Kremlin. So our embassy is now closed, and warning others you may want to close and get the hell out of there because of the response from Russia. The Italian and Greek embassies also shut down. British government said theirs has remained open so far, but they have warned their folks to get ready. The war, which reached its 1,000-day milestone, is taking on a new dimension now. North Korean troops helping Russia on the battlefield, dying for Russia. Iranian drones being used. They are supplying equipment that Russia needs, as well as China. Folks, it's getting uglier by the day over there. In the meantime, we have an army envoy over in Israel trying to work an agreement for the end of that war. No discussions have gone on with Russia, though, in their war of Ukraine. They're not asking for a ceasefire or nothing over there for some reason. In fact, we're doubling down on our investment into the Ukraine, but they're still pushing for Israel to deal with the terrorists and come up with a ceasefire there. It's unclear how close they are to an agreement. It would require Israeli ground forces withdrawing from a buffer zone in Lebanon. Still no word on the hostages either, the forgotten people of this war with Israel, of which 5 Americans still remain hostage. By the way, that Russian missile attack yesterday, it knocked out 50% of all the power in the Ukraine. 50%. Winter's coming. Energy companies said they've been able to quickly restore a lot of it after these attacks, but it's getting worse there by the day, folks. Susan Smith, remember her? She's going to ask a parole board in South Carolina today for her freedom. She's 53. She rolled her car into a lake back in 1994 with both of her children in there. A 3-year-old and a 14-month-old that she had strapped inside the car before she pushed it into the lake, serving a life sentence for murder after a jury decided not to sentence her to the death penalty. She's eligible for a parole hearing every 2 years. She'll make her case for freedom by video link today from a woman's prison. Donald Trump continues to put people on his cabinet. He has picked Linda McMahon to be Secretary of Education Department. She'll be tasked with overseeing that agency and tearing it apart. He's also selected Dr. Oz, a former heart surgeon, to head the agency that oversees our health insurance programs for millions through Medicare and Medicaid. He's also chosen Wall Street executive Howard Lutnick to head the Commerce Department. All three have been outspoken supporters of Trump, and his transition team has put people in place so when they hit the ground running on January 20th, they can get rolling. Throughout his campaign, the president has scorned the Federal Department of Education, describing it as being infiltrated with radicals and Marxists. That's why one reason why he picked Linda McMahon. Get wokeness out of our schools, critical race theory, give that money and the portfolio back to states. Let them determine what's best for their students. Also in that education department, folks, the federal student loan portfolio, which needs to be overhauled as well. House Speaker Mike Johnson signaled support for an effort to ban Democrat Sarah McBride, the first transgender elected to Congress, from going into the women's bathroom. After citing his Christian faith and others, he said, "We are going to protect women's rights in this Congress." Response to a resolution this week by Nancy Mace of South Carolina. It's been the vocal point of this, using these facilities, making them use the one that corresponds with their biological sex. Mace said the bill is aimed at McBride, who was elected to the House, said she will fight till her last breath to protect the rights of women in this country. Women have the right to privacy in their bathrooms, in their locker rooms, in their dressing rooms. Women should have the rights to play against women in sports, all coming to a head, and said she will fight to the end to protect women's rights. Donald Trump for weeks has welcomed Elon Musk into his world. Listen to that. Listen to how AP sets his story. For he's been welcoming into his world. Well, yesterday, Trump flew to South Texas to watch SpaceX launch a Starship rocket. A reusable booster did not return to the launch pad, but all the other tests went well. He's been helping shape space travel, and President Trump went to see it yesterday. The Los Angeles City Council has voted to enact an ordinance to prohibit city resources from being used for immigration enforcement in anticipation of a mass deportation. The ordinance prohibits city departments from sharing information with people with legal status and federal immigration authorities. That's going to set up a court battle. Council members voted unanimously to approve the so-called sanctuary city ordinance for them. Sanctuary cities or states are not legal terms, but have symbolized a pledge to protect all the people that broke our federal law and snuck into the country, which is going to be a great option for other cities that are trying to get control of it. They can send them all to L.A. in California. Let them take care of it. California voters, though, they're speaking up. They rejected a measure pushed by these nut jobs that wanted to raise their minimum wage to $18 an hour. They said no. It would have helped, they said, millions of workers support their families. Millions of those workers, by the way, who were undocumented into this country. Opponents said it would increase costs, lead to higher taxes, cut jobs. Their current minimum wage is $16 an hour anyway. They tried the $20 an hour fast food mandate, which they want to see reach $25 an hour in just another year or two, and it has closed hundreds of restaurants in California because they can't afford the labor cost. People in California taking a stand. The Pineapple Express is here again this year, battering the West Coast with some power outages and downed trees. They had 600,000 people without power. As the Weather Prediction Center said, there'll be excessive rainfall amounts coming up this weekend and some gusty winds. Now, that was my report.
Oh, good.
Now I'll give you their report.
Okay.
Another bomb cyclone because of climate change is wreaking havoc on the West Coast. Oh, yeah. The storm system occurs when a cyclone intensifies rapidly. One thing that it brings is an atmospheric river, large plumes of moisture that pelt the Pacific, now considered a bomb cyclone. See, folks, it's the Pineapple Express that happens every fall. They knew it was coming, and it will come again next year with heavy rain and gusty winds. A new study out said that human-caused climate change made hurricanes 18 miles an hour stronger in the last 6 years. Now, we have no information on what just the natural changes of climate, how that influenced the hurricanes. They're not able to decipher how many miles per hour hurricanes increase because of the natural evolution of the planet. But they were able to determine they increased 18 miles an hour because some of you folks still have old refrigerators. 18 miles an hour. That's what they say. Warmer oceans, they said, did it. The oceans were frozen at one time. 6 times, in fact. But it's because of you. NVIDIA and other tech companies pulled our stocks a little higher yesterday. The S&P was up 0.4. NASDAQ was up almost 1%, but the Dow was down yesterday. NVIDIA rallied ahead of their profit report. They're a big company, one of the biggest in the world now, and that bumped the stock markets up. But the Dow was down 120 world shares this morning, kind of bouncing around a little bit. Everybody's worried about now the Russian-Ukraine war, which is elevated to a different level. Oil was at $69.39. Inflation in the UK has risen sharply to a 6-month high. Office for National Statistics Wednesday said higher energy bills pushed their inflation up 2.3% in a year from October to October. Target came out with information yesterday. They reported a slim increase in sales for the third quarter and a slump in profit as they saw a pullback from inflation-weary customers. Well, that's different than what we heard prior to the election. Inflation was controlled. Consumers were going back. The economy was strong. But now that it's over, you're getting the damn truth. Inflation-weary customers pulled back in their spending. The company based in Minneapolis offered an outlook that missed what analysts had projected. So that means it will be a challenging holiday shopping season for Target. Walmart reported rosy profit reports this week. Target posted a net income of $854 million. Last year, the same month, they did $971 million at Target stores. An investigation found that there were numerous instances of completed mail ballots from around the country that were being sent to election offices in the wrong states. Many of those ballots might have been returned too late. Stray ballots ending up in the wrong place can happen during every election season. But the number of ballots this year seems unusual, according to Associated Press. Election offices in California, Louisiana, and Montana received reporting completed ballots in the mail. Well, I'll be a son of a buck. Montana had one of the most contested Senate races in the country that was being closely watched. And I'll be a son of a buck, Mark, that Montana was one of the states that was getting ballots sent in, and they were coming from out of state. Isn't that a coinky-dink? Yeah, it's a coinky-dink, all right. Terry Thompson had an election to run for voters in Cascade County and saw these ballots coming in, being completed, and voters in places like Washington, Florida, coming in from Alaska. Yeah, coming into our headquarters. They were being FedExed. Overnight envelopes from FedEx. I'll be a son of a buck, Mark, because we all, when we send in our mail-in ballots, we all put them in FedEx envelopes and send them into the headquarters, don't we?
Win at all costs.
Can you believe that? It happened, folks. It happens. Postal Service said without additional information or tracking, it'd be tough to find out exactly whom were sending these ballots. But state election officials were warned in September that there would be problems with the nation's mail delivery system, and that would disenfranchise voters in the presidential election. Now, why do you think, you people, you think we're all dumb? Why do you think they sent that out in September? Because they knew what they were going to do.
Right.
So be cautious. Some of these might be coming in late. Some of them might be, you might want to keep an eye out for that. Anyway, folks, it didn't matter. The results were overwhelming, but they were getting them in FedEx envelopes. And tonight's the big night for country music. Post Malone, Morgan Wallen's collaboration, I Had Some Help, could be a big winner at the CMA Awards tonight. It's up for 4 different awards, that song alone. Wallen is up for a total of 7 awards. That's interesting. After being blackballed by the CMAs for years.
See if they've finally forgiven him.
The ABC telecast will be hosted by Luke Bryan and Peyton Manning, so there'll be a bunch of cornball stuff in there to start.
And Lainey Wilson.
Lainey Wilson's going to also help. Collaborations will be featured throughout the night. The show opening performance from Malone and Chris Stapleton. George Strait will get the Willie Nelson Lifetime Achievement Award tonight at the CMA Awards, but usually they always used to hold them in October, and now they moved them into November because November is a sweeps month for the media. And they like the viewership that the CMA Awards bring, unlike the Grammys and others.
And the CMA has higher ratings than the ACMs, which are in the spring.
So they moved those in now to November. Cat Country News Time is 6:43. Sports and weather next.
In sports from the NFL rules allow for players to celebrate as long as the celebrations are not excessive and don't feature violent or sexually suggestive acts. Therefore, players that have been scoring touchdowns and doing the Trump dance will not be fined.
Well, good.
Now, this comes after Joey Bosa from the 49ers was fined $11,255 for wearing a Make America Great Again hat on the field after the game because they don't like you doing that. But you can go ahead and do that. The Roy Jones Jr. fight, he did the Trump dance, so they're going to let you keep that.
The soccer match, I saw a soccer match yesterday, some world soccer match. Some guy scored a goal, and he did the Trump dance at the soccer match. So
nice.
Yeah, so everybody's doing the Trump dance now. Going to be chilly today, 35 degrees. Going to see some sun, not as much wind. Yesterday was real windy, and today the winds won't be howling as much. Let's see here. This is interesting. I've never seen this before in a weather forecast.
Okay.
But today, a drop in atmospheric pressure over the next 24 hours may trigger a migraine today.
That's on the weather?
That's on the weather, Mark.
Huh.
Right there.
Wow. Okay.
I've never had that in the weather, but it's there. So, and that usually means a weather change when the pressure drops.
Right.
So maybe a scattered shower, something like that. I've never seen that in a weather forecast before. So another first today. Winds today will be lighter, 5 to 10. Yeah, Paul, you idiot. I wouldn't have done your fencing today. No, I did it yesterday. In a blustery northerly wind when I was freezing. 39 tomorrow, Friday on Flakesgiving Day, the day we put meals together. Partly sunny and 37 degrees, so that won't be too bad. Downtown now, it's 21 out there. 646, and that's what's happening. Flakesgiving week, 248-5665. You can help us out today.
Somebody did, Paul. Nick and Deb Carlson, former trip winners.
Yeah.
Going to send us a check. Wanted to hear this one.
All righty. You got it. Thanks for tuning into the Cat.